Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Dr. Glenn Vo, and I am super excited to have this guest on the next episode of the Backstage Podcast. It is super hygienist, super educator, super mom, super woman, Joy Boyd Holmes. Joy, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Glenn. It is such a pleasure just to be on this platform. So many amazing things come out of this platform. And so I am really just honored that you chose to spend some time with me today.
Well, look, I'm honored that you squeezed me into your busy schedule, and we'll talk about why you have a busy schedule. Again, I already kind of let everyone know you're like a super woman, super mom, super entrepreneur, super dental educator, all those things.
Mhm.
But for those who don't know you yet, who don't have the pleasure of knowing you like I do,
Mhm.
let them know about your whole journey and what you do and how you
Okay.
help dental professionals like myself level up our practices. But let's start. Let's go. Let's take a trip back in time and talk about
Okay.
where you started and how you got into dentistry and really
Okay.
how you end up where you are today.
No problem. So my journey probably begins before most. I loved going to the dentist as a child. Dr. Juanita Rhodes, absolutely loved her. She was my childhood dentist. And I loved her because she looked like me, right? Very professional, well dressed, just the ultimate professional. And one summer, I needed a summer job. When I was 16, so my mother called her and asked her would she give me a job, and she said yes. So I had the opportunity to work front desk, and that was my first, I would say, real introduction into
Wow.
dentistry. And so that summer job turned into a job after school. And it was during that time that I, outside of filing those paper charts, and if people still have paper charts, shame on you. So, it doesn't take long to file a paper chart. So I had an opportunity to sit and just watch. And that is where I started putting two and two together. And what I didn't realize is that at the time I was learning the business of dentistry. Part of my job was to run my day sheets, accounts receivables, accounts payables. I had to make sure that what we collected matched this. So that stayed with me, right? Didn't realize that a lot of the knowledge and skills that I learned during that time would translate into me being a super hygienist, if you will. I then went on to college, believe it or not. I actually went to school for accounting. Got accepted into several business schools, decided I did not like my accounting teacher, but I also love science. So I decided to go the science route. Had a conversation with Dr. Rhodes, and she's, I'm like, I want to be a dentist. I want to be a dentist just like her. And she said, well, you know what? You should consider dental hygiene. Number one, you don't want to go and spend almost 8 years in dental school and realize you don't like teeth. Go to hygiene school first, see if that's what you like, and then go to dental school. Enrolled, applied to hygiene school, got in, and I fell in love with the preventative aspect of dentistry. So that is how I got my start. Um, so graduated from dental hygiene school in 1997, and I have stayed with the profession, left the profession, worked downtown DC for about 10, 11 years. For some really, really great dentists. I would say I have the privilege of being able to work with dentists who did it the right way early on in my career. So it's hard for you to fool me. So the second dentist I have to shout out is Dr. Neil Starr, who's a prosthodontist and periodontist. And so, yeah, he just made me level up every single day that I was there. But infection control was top tier, dentistry was top tier, just everything was top tier. And he made me be good, right? After working downtown DC, like you told everybody, I super mom, I was having babies and decided that I wanted to just be a mom. So stepped away from that for a little bit. Um, Delved into a couple different things, real estate, eyelashes, Zumba, but my husband would always say you should do your dental hygiene thing. And people would always say whenever you talk about oral health, you're so passionate. So,
Yeah.
one day I just decided to do my dental hygiene thing. And so even after graduating, I never stopped going to school. I was always in school for something. Eventually graduated with my master's in health science and then my doctorate in health science. And during that time, I started teaching. at a dental hygiene program. Just throughout my time clinically, I've worked nursing homes for 4 years. I've worked the school, programs. I've worked various different types of offices. And so I feel like I have a very well-rounded view. Fee for service, insurance, high Medicaid, you name it, I've done it. And so once I graduated with my doctorate, I said, you know what? I'm sitting on this wealth of information and I have to be able to share it with the world. And that is where Dr. Joy RDH, my company, started. That is
I love
where
that.
I started, and that is where the platform um, began.
That is so amazing. Thank you so much for literally going through years of your career in a very concise manner, but you made it very clear. And the one thing that really stands out to me is that you are very different from most hygienists.
Hmm.
You actually got training on the business side.
Yeah,
You got exposed to that first with the business
yeah.
side.
Hmm.
But also, you have been in different types of practices. And so, what I tell people is like a lot of times when you're working with a coach, when you're working with a consultant, ask them what kind of experiences they have.
Yeah,
Because the thing is that, look, there's a coach and there's a consultant, I feel like, for everybody,
correct.
right? And some people are really good at certain things, and some people have experience in certain things, and some people don't. Doesn't
Right.
mean that they're bad people, just means that they just don't have the experience you want. And I love the fact that you've seen everything from the
Hmm.
service, from working in the nursing homes, from working corporate, from working all these different things. Because again, not everyone is going to be working in the same environment. So I love the fact that you share that because
Hmm.
that lets me know that if I send my hygienist to you and they're training with you, that you've probably seen it and you probably also understand. Look, there's the clinical side. That's so important, right?
Hmm.
Look, we're not discounting that. But I think, Joy, you understand that there's a business component too. I
Absolutely.
gotta pay. I gotta pay my bills, right? Like I got people. As a practice owner, I mean, no one. I mean, most of the time, people don't care about my bills and what I have to deal with. All they care about is the first and the 15th, right?
Right, right,
My
right.
check. Am I getting my check? I mean, oh yeah, I know that's card. I know hygiene wages going up, but that's you. That's not me. And
Hmm.
so, with that being said, I want to segue into something that most practice owners like myself are always concerned about. I'm sure you hear about it all the time, and that is, man, the hygiene wages are like going up,
Hmm.
and reimbursements are going down. I mean, what is a guy like me or a gal like me supposed to do in this environment with my hygiene department? What
Right.
do you say to the practice
Whew.
owners who, yeah, we do complain a lot about that, but really it's a cry for help. And
Hmm.
and we want to know, like, okay, we're complaining to our other fellow doctors, but now we're asking you, Dr. Joy, on the
Okay.
hygiene side. We're
All right.
asking you, okay, you have the pulse and you know your fellow hygienist really well. What is a
Mhm.
guy like me supposed to do in this environment?
So this is, I don't want to call it a complicated question. I will say
Mhm.
I'm very different from most hygienists in how I think and what my response normally is. There's so many different things at play. So one main thing that a hygienist has no control over, and sometimes, well, the practice does, but it doesn't, is you have to be mindful of the types of insurances that you're accepting into your practice, right?
Yeah,
That just because a hygienist can, outproduce and produce a $3,000 day, but if you're only collecting 1,500 of that, that's not the hygienist's fault, right? So there's the other business aspect of it that I think needs to be addressed. Secondly, I would say that, like most hygienists, most dentists don't know how to run a business. And so they
mhm,
need to make sure that they understand the business aspect of it. So now let's get to the hygiene part. I think hygienists really need to understand the day-to-day operations of a dental office. And again, when I was working front desk, I didn't know that I was learning the business aspect of dentistry. I was just paying attention to certain things. And as
mhm.
I started to practice, certain things started to click for me. And I think it was a consultant who came in and she said, "Oh my God, a hygienist who knows insurance and who knows front desk, she's golden." And I'm like, light bulb, right? So what I would say to hygienists is, if you walk in and you are requesting $75 an hour, um, are you able to bring $75 an hour worth of services to the table? And many can. In many instances, many can. In those instances, and maybe it's fee for service, or they have eliminated some of those insurance plans that don't serve the office well, and those hygienists are doing well, right? But I've also seen situations where hygienists come in and say, oh, well, she's making 75 an hour. I want to make 75 an hour. And you refuse to take a full set of x-rays, or you refuse to scale and root plane, or you don't know how to, I don't even say sell treatment. You don't even know how to recommend the treatment that the patient needs. So I think that there is unrealistic expectations from hygienists sometimes, and I can use me as the perfect example. I live in the DMV, DC, Maryland, and Virginia. So, I cross the street, I'm in DC. I cross the street the other way, I'm in
Mhm.
Virginia. Working downtown DC in a fee for service office, I could always command a higher salary, right? Because they didn't have to deal with those insurances. And what I produced, they were able to collect. Now, it got to a point where I don't want to drive into an hour and a half of traffic, and I want to go back into this, but I want to be close to home. So I'm going to go 10 minutes down the street where they're accepting all types of insurances and they're not charging the same fee. I cannot expect to make the same amount of money, but I am the same hygienist, right? So
Yeah.
I think hygienists have to understand that, right? You can't go into DC and buy a home for less than probably $1 million now. You just can't. So I think hygienists have to understand that as well. I've also had the opportunity to work on production, so I get that. I love it. People clutch their pearls when I say that. I absolutely love it because I don't feel like I'm taking advantage of you and you're not taking advantage of me. So my message to that practice owner is that you may have to sit down and have a very honest conversation with that hygienist. I think that practice owners need to be upfront with what their expectations are, and
Mhm.
sometimes you can meet that need and sometimes you can't. Don't be so desperate that you're willing to say things in an interview that you know that you're not going to follow through on, because it happens time and time and time again. I think that practices have to find that match. Like I would tell my students when I taught, I had a student who just liked to work at her own pace. Excellent clinician. I'm like, you know what? You need to find an office who is going to move at your pace. And 2 years
Yeah.
later, she found that office. So sometimes, you just have to manage expectations, but learning the business aspect of it. You just have to have that honest conversation. And sometimes compensation to a hygienist doesn't always have to be a dollar amount.
Right.
Sometimes it's investing in education. Sometimes I would be willing to take $3 to $4 less an hour if you got me every single instrument that I needed.
Mm.
That means something to me. Or
Yeah.
let's just say my patient at 5 o'clock canceled and you say, you know what, you can go home, right? Little things. So I think we need to also find other ways to compensate hygienists. When you can't do it with money, find other ways
Yeah.
to be able to compensate that
I mean,
hygienist.
accommodating someone's lifestyle. I mean,
Yes.
accommodating people have kids and stuff. You know what you just shared there. I will say this. It also applies to relationships in general, right?
Yep.
Like, if you're dating somebody or you're in a relationship, like you gotta have your expectations like out there,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
If you're dating someone and they want to have kids, but you really don't want to have kids, but you just want to see where this goes, that ain't gonna end
Why?
good. All right, it's gonna
Right.
end badly, and it's so funny because we all know that as adults.
Hmm.
Yet sometimes when we get into like professional settings or like in the dental practice, right? And you're like, okay, you're a dentist and you know you ain't ever gonna pay somebody something,
Yeah.
right? And you just string them along, you already know what's gonna happen. And then on the flip side, on the hygiene side, like if you're used to being a fee for service practice, working at a certain pace,
Yeah.
right? Like a certain pace where you can really get to know the patients and you're going to like a high pace corporate style or maybe a PPO heavy,
Hmm.
you know what you get into. You know what you get into. But I also love the fact that you started with the fact that, look, I mean, if you want a hygienist, a hygiene department that levels up, practice owner, you got to level up too.
That's thank you so much for saying it in those
I mean,
terms. 'Cause
right? Like if you
I went
expect
all the
that,
way, I went all the way around the world to say just that, right?
I
If
mean,
you want this hygienist, do you have the office to attract that type of hygienist?
yeah.
And some do, and they just, pick the bad apple, right? But you can't expect this and give this.
I mean, it goes back to relationships, right?
Yep,
I mean, you want some high quality partner and you ain't bringing anything to the table. I mean,
that part.
no one's judging anybody, okay? But it is what it is. And so I love the fact that that you bring that up, which leads me to the next thing that I want to talk about, which
Sure.
is that's been a mission of yours, right?
Yes.
Not only on the doctor side, but on the hygienist side. I
Hmm.
mean, your courses, you've created something where, let's say, a hygienist who wants to level up,
Hmm.
and maybe they think that they are at a certain level, but they realize there's another level. Your courses are aimed at that. But I love the fact that you've been promoting that to practice owners like myself. Like,
Yes.
okay, well, you want your hygienist to level up. You're having them do the same thing all the time. I mean, you
Mhm.
can only scale your way to prosperity at that you can only do so much. So
Right.
talk about that. Talk about why you've created this program, not
Yes.
only because honestly, it's not a program just for hygienists. I mean, it's for
No,
practice owners too. Like
for practice
we
owners.
so explain that, explain why you're so passionate about that, and also what are the expectations for someone, let's say if I send my hygienist your program,
Hmm.
like
Sure.
what are my expectations, and what should I expect if I send
Absolutely.
my treasured team member over there who
Right.
really wants to level up? Share that with us.
Absolutely. So, I can vividly remember I've always been passionate about hands-on instrumentation, and I'm just going to share this with you really quickly. I just had an event this past weekend, and I remember one of the attendees coming up to me and she said, I remember you did a program here in Maryland. It was 2018, I think she was referencing, and it was more of a lecture. And she said, you were so passionate about hands on at that time. She said, I saw your passion back then. Let's fast forward to 2025. It's one thing to talk about it, but I like to be about it, right? And I just knew as an educator, and I was always that hygienist, I always had like a permanent position 2 or 3 days a week, but I love to tempt to see what's out there, right? People struggled with their hand instrumentation. They just did. But then in addition to that, there are no real hands-on courses for hygienists. And we all graduate being minimally competent with the ability to scale. But what else?
Yeah.
I can tell you that when I was taught to place sealants, I was told to read a book and then there was my patient.
Wow.
So how do I place good sealants working in a smile program where I'm placing 60 sealants a day, right? So where am I going to go to learn all types of things about dental materials, and if there are 40 different varnish products on the market, how do I pick and how do I apply it? Where am I going to go if I just can't get the distal of a second molar, or I keep overlapping the x-rays? Where is my training? Where do I go if my doctor has now bought this new scanner in, and I'm expected to be able to do a 3-minute scan, but they haven't provided me training, but they're paying me top dollar, so I'm afraid to ask. Ooh, I need some training here. So I really wanted to create a program that not only helped new hygienists, but existing hygienists learn new skills or refine existing skills in a hands-on format. It's almost a safe space where you can say, I know I learned this, but I need help. As a practice owner, this is what I love. When a practice owner sends their hygienist, I reach out to the practice owner. Why are you sending your hygienist to me? What are
Wow.
you expecting that hygienist to learn? And I got a litany of things. I had a practice in 7 of their hygienists. And I'm like, what do you want them, right? What do you want them to learn? And it was very specific things. They're too slow. Um, I need them to speed up the treatment, and that's typically the case for most new hygienists, right? So that's not a knock. I need them to be better with taking X-rays. I need for them to learn how to place Curodont and how to recommend it. I need for them to what was one? it was radiographs, the instrumentation. It was a couple of different things. And so then I go back to my team and I'm like, okay, let's make sure we hit these points. So, what you can expect as a practice owner, number one, I'm going to teach a little bit of the business. I can't give everything away in like a 1 or 2 day hands-on workshop, right? This is why I like for you to bring me into your office, right?
Yeah,
So they're going to learn the importance of understanding the business of hygiene. They're going to learn how everything they do benefits the patient, the practice, and then the provider. They're going to learn about the importance of coding, but they're going to learn some new skills and refine existing ones. So typically, when hygienists go back to the office on Monday, they're able to implement things immediately. We had a
I love
hygienist come back to us, and I feel like the first time she came to us in April, very timid, very shy, just lacked all types of confidence, ready to give up. I look at her last week and I'm like, oh my God, look at you. Like you could just see the light is back in her eye. I'm looking at her skills and I'm like, oh my God, you remembered we didn't get to that. Yes. And she's like, yes, thank you so much. You don't realize what you've done. So sometimes just instilling that confidence to let them know, like, yes, you can do this and you're not alone in your journey. And she's like, I'm gonna be back to every single one of them. So um,
I love that.
hygienists get so much coming to this course. We've even had dentists come. So it's not just for hygienists. I think it's important for the dentist to come as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the fact that it goes back to, okay, if you want your hygiene department to function and to perform at a high level, you have to invest in it.
Have
And
to.
what's so funny is that if you think about it, there's courses for, look, I mean, in dental school, we learn how to prep a crown, we know how to do composites and
Hmm.
fillings and stuff like that. We learn how to do extractions as well. Yet, there is still courses out there that still talk about those basic skills that we learned.
Hmm.
Yet in hygiene, it just blows my mind. That's why I'm so excited about what
Yeah.
you're offering. It blows my mind. Okay, you go through hygiene school, learn how to do some scaling, and then there you go. And what ends up happening is hygienists don't have that opportunity. Yeah, they learn new skills like doing laser stuff, but like their
Hmm.
core skill doesn't level up. And you know what happens? I mean, a lot of times dentists think, well, why should I invest in that? Well, you know what? If your patient has a bad experience,
Hmm.
if the hygienist is heavy-handed, maybe a little too rough, little, right? I
Great.
mean, guess what? I mean, a patient like me might say, "You know what? Hell no, I'm never coming back to that place again. I don't care. I might like Dr. Vo, but man, the hygienist, man, she
Yeah.
messed me up. I'm out of here."
It
And
can make
guess
or break a
what?
practice, right? It
It
does.
breaks the practice, and now here's an opportunity to help your hygiene department. Not only from the clinical side, that's why I love the fact that you blend the clinical side and a little bit of business because you keep it very straightforward and real and let the hygienist know like, hey, I mean, we got to make sure we bring in the production as well. So I love you bring that. Okay, so for those who have watching this right now and they're like, okay, let me see what's up, right?
Right. Hmm.
What is the best way? Obviously, we talked about they for those who are watching, yes, you missed out that course, but I'm making it kind of like my mission to make sure these courses that Dr. Joy is a little bit more available so that everyone can benefit. So
Yeah.
we talked about the courses where you come in as a group. You
Hmm.
also share that, for those who really want to level up faster,
Hmm.
right? And make it more custom, you also go in office as well. What's the best way for our viewers to find out where to get training and connect with you as well?
Absolutely. So the first place would be my website, drjoyrdh.com, as it sounds. And on there, you're going to find information about me, but you're going to find information also about my P3 workshops. And that is precision power prevention. And that is the framework that we use. It is a framework, in case you're like, what in the world is that? That is the framework that we use to help benefit the patient, the provider, and the practice. And
All
so
right.
every single thing you do in clinic can be applied to that framework,
Okay.
right? So this is what we really reserve for those offices. Um, I like the individual trainings, but what we find is people need, the 1 and the 2 day workshops, they need more. And we are really, really diligent about looking at the feedback. That is why no P3 workshop has ever been the same. This is
Mhm.
why we keep expanding the amount of hands-on stations. And so, at some point, and it's not just me, I have an amazing team. At some point, it's just easier for us to go into the office because your need may not be this person's need, but yet you're sitting here 15 minutes listening to something that may not apply to you. And
Yeah,
we'd rather take that 15 minutes and really hone in on the things that you need to truly, truly grow and prosper. But I did want to add something to the last well, not the last conversation, the last question that you asked. What dentists really need to understand is hygienists, and you could probably say the same for dentists, they graduate minimally competent, right?
yeah.
They we tell a hygienist, it took me probably, it was a little expedited for me because of who I worked for, but it takes you
Mhm.
maybe 5 to 7 years to really get good with your hand instruments, and that's with no training whatsoever. And especially with new grads, the COVID grads who missed out on a lot of that one-on-one
Clinical
training,
stuff.
the,
Yeah.
the the clinical skills are lacking. And so then a dentist is frustrated. Well, they're making all of this money, or they're asking for all this money, and the clinical skills aren't there. This is your opportunity to help them, to mold them into the person that you want them to be. It's a wonderful opportunity. They need more hands-on training. They need you to invest in them.
I love that, and honestly, what better way to say, "I really value you as a team member," by investing in them, right? When people invest in me, when people invest in you, Joy, you feel it and
Yes.
you wanna deliver, so I love that. I mean, I you just dropped the mic right there. There's nothing else I could say to go over that, but again, guys, we will have all of Dr. Joy's information. Reach out to her. Heck, she's on social media. You could slide in her DMs, but let's keep it professional, folks,
Keep it
okay?
professional.
Keep
I
it
am a
professional.
married
You can slide in some
woman.
DMs, but let's keep it professional,
Yes.
okay? She is a family woman here. But Dr. Joy, thank you so much for jumping on, and we appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you do and seeing how you're going to change dentistry as a whole.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Glenn. Thank you, everyone. Hope to hear from you.